Well, good morning, everyone. I'm Jan Erickson from Stepping Aside, and welcome to Somewhat Daily Tarot and Rune for this 22nd day of October, 2019. Oh, I love it when we have a master number in a month, don't you? We only have two, so the 11 and the 22 will ever happen in a month, so it's special. 22, particularly because it's thought to be the cosmic builder, so, it's spirit manifestation, basically. So anyhow, aside from that, I hope everyone had a good day yesterday. We got to walk again today. Not so many chemtrails in the sky this time, so my hair's not all gunky. I hate that. People will say, "Oh, that's not happening." Well, I don't know. There's a difference between the contrails from aircraft and chemtrails that stay in the sky and spread out and rain down on my hair. So I don't like that. Anyhow, the moon is still waning. It's in Leo in the ninth house. It was third quarter yesterday. It's new on Sunday in Scorpio, I believe. It goes new at 8:39 p.m. my time here. And I guess this is the last time this month where we will fall back. We will stay in the fallback mode. We will not spring forward in the spring, apparently. That whole thing does take place on the 1st of January, so I guess we're done with the whole daylight savings time business. So that will be interesting to see how that works out next summer garden-wise, but we'll have to maybe adjust a little bit, maybe not, maybe we won't even notice it. Anyhow, Mercury is still in Scorpio. And the 12th house, all of that is pretty much the same as yesterday. One thing that I wanted to mention, we have a yod today, at least at this moment, between the moon, Saturn, and Neptune. Saturn and Neptune are the two planetary bodies that are getting along with one another and supporting the whole yod, with the moon the focal point. And I just kind of looked at it a little bit before we started here, and let's see, what did I write down? Oh, I need to advance my notes here on the screen a little bit so I can see all of it. All right, so you basically have what's called either an inconjunct or a quincunx, and you have to be really careful how you say that one. Otherwise, you have to put that "not safe for work," thing up anyway. Or kids can't watch this or something. I try to not swear on this ever, so in case somebody's kid's watching it. So anyway, but they don't understand each other basically, and but Saturn and Neptune are the ones that are basically propping up the moon, and the moon, though, in conjunct, we'll say that Saturn indicates maybe a reluctance to take risks, while the same with Neptune is sort of a tendency toward blaming others or martyrdom. So it's like, oh, I don't want to take a risk, but at the same time, oh, I'm going to blame everybody if I don't. Well, together, though, they in sextile together, they basically support a focus or perhaps a career choice that focuses on service to others, or in this case, service to humanity. So with the moon, then, as the focal point, what this might be doing is providing us the ability today to maybe have a service to others focus, a little more focus on what's good for humanity and not so much what's good for the self. Uranus in the 5th house also suggests some unconventional behavior. So, maybe you step outside your comfort zone and if you have maybe taken a more self-oriented focus. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you're selfish. It just means that maybe your issues have needed to focus on you for a while. There's nothing wrong with that, at all. Maybe you're preparing for the future or something, but maybe now, today, you're ready to, shine that light outwards, all that you've prepared, all that you've learned. Maybe you're ready to graduate college. You're getting ready to do that. You're planning for your career. Maybe that career is going to take a humanitarian focus. So I thought that was kind of interesting today. With the intense conversations though with others today. You just still, Mars is still doing its thing, and Scorpio's still going, having its effect on Libra, or not Libra, but Venus, and all of that. So just again, don't get too carried away with exuberance, but allow that Genesis, that yod, to start thinking about that. Maybe that's a new direction in your life, and one that's certainly worth pursuing. So anyhow, let's go ahead and get started. And I think empathically, we're still maybe with the Scorpio effect, again, intensity, emotions could be intense. And so, empathically, this may be a day where you want to maybe kind of keep to yourself, keep your energetic focus to yourself. Maybe if things get a little weird, then, that it's not really safe to come out from under your little hidey hole yet. So anyhow, let's go ahead, and before I start throwing cards on the floor, we'll take our first 3 cards. And if it's your first time here, welcome. I take the 13th card each time for randomness sake. I was born on October 13th. It's always the third. Things happen to me in 13s. It's weird. And it always has. It's not anything I plan. It just happens that way. I mean, people ought to think about that. Whatever your birthday is, reduce it down. I mean, I don't with a 13, but you, even if you have to reduce it down to a single number, see if that number figures prominently in your life. Or maybe it just happens to me. But I have a funny feeling other people experience this as well. Anyhow, the first card is Judgment, 20th card of the major arcana. So we're going to start out with a soul archetype card, Higher Self. I don't care for the name Judgment. I like some of the more non-traditional decks, the Pagan Oriented decks, for example. Druidcraft calls it Rebirth. Crowley calls it Eon. So does the Heindel deck. But the Thoth deck by Crowley, they call it Eon. It's basically a transition point, coming to balance, coming to well, there it went. But we'll talk about that now that I'm throwing cards. We'll talk about that in a minute. Let's do our next card. I was doing one card at a time and talking about it, but I decided to change up one day, and I just like the flow better. We got the 7 of Wands. And we'll decide if we need a 4th card here at some point, but I think we'll probably do an interpretation before we decide that. We might move this Judgment around. We have the Knight of Swords. So energetically, we have a 9 numerology here. I want to check something on Judgment, though. We've got a lot of swift action. We've got a lot of, action here, period. Knight of Swords, now that's the air element. And again, there's definitely swift action, trying to protect something about either the current state of affairs or the past. He's not going in the other direction, though, so nothing that's coming at us. He's trying to deal with something that's going on. Swords is the intellect, it's reason, trying to maybe bring things to balance. Things are out of control. I think I'm going to leave him in the same place, adjacent to the 7, because here this is a battle of wills, and we're trying to bring reason into play. Either because we're trying to achieve some level of balance and awakening and awareness, or that's going to be in service to it. The final outcome is going to be that. But let me look at something and see. I hope I have it in this particular notebook, but I don't know. Yeah, see, I don't even have it listed in here as I have Judgment listed, but the main title is Eon. Yeah, rebirth, realization, live in the present moment. Legal judgment in your favor, changing consciousness, see the bigger picture, transformation of the spirit. It's a card of Uranus, so sudden, uncontrolled change. I think I am going to leave it at the end, because I think that what feels right to me here is that we've got a struggle. We have a struggle here, battle of wills, perhaps, with others. We're having to defend he's up on a little hill, little ridge there. He's having to defend his position, basically. But you can see that the other folks down below here, they're not strong enough to overcome his own presence, are they? So we're going to stand in our own power today. It's almost like he provides the resting point of the scales. You could see where you've got 6 wands below or 6 staffs below, and so that could be the 3 and the 3 of the pans of the scale, and then he could represent then the resting point, the 4th position there in the 7. But if you look at it that way, think about this now for a moment. Look at the directionality of the staff that he's holding. His right hand is held up in the strength position. But it's the receptive side in his left hand that's pointed downward, that's doing the most interaction with the rest of the staffs down there. So it's almost like if that's because it looks like it's forward, right? So although he's standing in his own power, the fact that the left hand is forward may indicate that he's not going to be so aggressive in his stance. He's just going to stand in his own power, his own certitude, his own sovereignty. But he's not going to extend his right hand toward the person, toward these people down below. He's just going to say, no, this is as far as I'm going. So in a way, he's establishing his boundaries. He's establishing his ground. This is my ground. I'm standing on this ground. You're not going to come any further. This is as far as I'm going to go. But then we have new facts that come in, new information maybe, coming to the rescue of this man. Now, the knight is holding the sword in his right hand, the reins of the horse in his left. What you have here also is an expression of interaction. You have a Rado expression here. Rado is the 5th rune of the Elder Futhark. I think it's the 5th. Let me look. Yeah, it's the 5th rune of the Elder Futhark. And so you're talking about energy that's change, about change. It's about momentum. It's about rhythmic, I think rider and horse. So it's about rhythmic, interactive momentum here. And so it could be that while the person in the 7 is trying to bring things to balance, to stand their ground for justice and exert their will that way, they're doing it in a way that it invokes a receptive presence. The Knight of Swords seems to represent the collective unconsciousness, or the collective consciousness of all of us, but the unconscious aspect of self that knows that we are one, that comes in with more facts, that comes in to save the day, essentially, with truth, to be that beacon of truth. And then in the final result then would be awakening. Because judgment is not about, the notion of judgment, how we're judging people. That's not what that's about. That's about going back and reflecting and understanding the greater picture of something and bringing things to some semblance of balance, a balanced perspective here. So collectively, we have a 9 on this 22 day. So while there may be a sense of endings or completion, we're going to build on the awareness that we've gained, perhaps. Oh, that's interesting. Let's do a rune. I'm not going to do a fourth card. I don't think there's any reason to. The idea about the 22, you know, you have, I mean, judgment is one half of the equation, isn't it? Because that's a 2 energy. As the 20th card, you know, it reduces to 2, so that's balance. But then if you look at the 22, you're looking at that magnified, okay? The 11 is the 1 magnified. And so that is considered to be illumination. But then the 22 is, what are we going to do with that illumination? So in a sense, even though the Knight of Swords is... that would be the 12th card, so that'd be 3, that would be 10. If you were to assign a number, I was thinking, well, if that were, you know, the 13, but that's not. See, 10, 11, 12, 13 is the queen, 14 would be the king, if you were to do that. No, that's not going to work out there. I was hoping that I could create basically, well, manifestation, but here you would have 9 and then 3. Well, that's 12, that's 3, that is manifestation. So I guess you could say that, but it doesn't then create a 22. It would create a 23 or change if you were to assign a number then to the Knight, which we won't do. We won't do. We'll think about this as coming to balance, bringing facts in to make all of that happen, because clearly, you know, will can't simply stand alone. You've got to have some intellect in there as well and some reason. So, okay, so yeah, I'm comfortable with that. So let's leave that alone. Here we have Nathis, which is the 10th rune of the Elder Futhark. So again, be better if it was Hagalaz, wouldn't it be? That'd be the 9. Because basically what we've got here is we've got a 9 energy, so 1 of completion. But maybe what the completion is we are on the 1/2. That's what I'm trying to say, I think. Okay, so we've got the 22. I'm going to draw this out because that way it might make a little more sense. Let me get something that you can see here. Well, you can see this probably. No, not that one. Here we go. What I mean by being 1/2 of the 22. If we're going to put 22 up here, it's almost like the reading makes up the first 2 of it, with judgment being the 20th. That reduces to 2. So you can see how it's 1/2 of that. The 7 and the Knight are going to make up the energy that provides the awakening that we realize in the Judgment card. Now, Nathis, on the other hand, Nathis is the 10th rune of the Elder Futhark, so it's going to be a 1 energy, but it means the need within, the friction within to manifest. So you can see then how that would align with the other 2. So the need to come to balance, and then the need to manifest from there. So we align in spirit, and from that point, spirit informs the manifestation and causes the manifestation to occur. So you see how that sort of, I know that's convoluted, but anyway. I like to just find, you know, energies that are going to align together, and I don't know why my candle went out here. Oh, well, because it just fell apart. I have to have one over here, though, so let me move this one. That way I can see what I'm doing when I do the geomancy rune. So, Nathis, we'll talk about that. Nathis is the 10th rune of the Elder Futhark. It is one of the 3 Norn runes of fate. It is the, however, it is the rune of the future. Hagalaz is of the past. Isa is of the present moment. And Nathis is the friction within to create or to manifest, and so to do something new. So basically, on this cosmic builder day, this is a manifestation day based on awakening. We've stood our ground, we've listened to the facts, we've gotten the truth, we're standing our power, and we're going to manifest from that level of strength. You know, you can manifest from the ego and you're not really going to get yourself anywhere, but, you know, maybe. So here, is that Albus? Oh, it is. Okay, so the geomancy rune for today is Albus, and that's wisdom. It means the sage. But basically it means wisdom. So it's going to be one of the geomancy runes that really have to do with a spirit focus, not an ego focus, in other words. So we're going to have 2 dots for fire, 2 for air, 1 for water, and 2 for earth. And it's going to create a rune that looks like that. Intuition is strong with this one, especially, and you're also coming into some kind of a balance there emotionally, because the water element is the active presence in this rune. So that just lends itself basically to awakening. That's going to align well with judgment, I think, and the awakening that happens. You know, it could just simply be that we are trying to preserve something here. You know, there's an energy about this knight, the Knight of Swords, that is preserving, you know, integrity, preserving dignity, preserving the rule of law, maybe. So maybe this has to do with, it could have to do with what's going on, you know, in our country. It could also have to do, and the necessary awakening that we're going to have as we move forward here. But we have to have the courage, irrespective of what this is. If this is something that's happening in our personal lives, maybe there's some kind of legal type of a situation happening, or just where you have to stand up for yourself. And you have to speak truth to power. Maybe it's at a job. Maybe this is just something where you're trying to figure out a way to say, this is the boundary. This is the line in other words, I'm not going to do something illegal in a job I'm in. I'm not going to break the law. You know, I've been in jobs where people have expected me to break the law and I refused. I've had situations where customers have wanted me to break the law. And I've refused, and I've lost a customer in the process. And that's fine, because again, you have to do like this and decide, what is your balance? Now, he can be aggressive about it, and if that was the case, then I would suggest then that the arms would be switched, and you would see the right arm, you know, in an aggressive stance. But here, it's back, isn't it? So I'm going to hold back the aggression because I don't need it. I'm just going to speak my mind, and I'm going to say, this is what I want, you know, and I'm not going to go any further. These are my boundaries. So it's almost like the willful establishment of boundaries here, because you have to. Things have gotten chaotic, and you've got to bring that back into balance. It's like, no, this is as far as I'm going. You know, maybe this is happening in your personal life where others are wanting you to do things you just don't want to do, or to believe things you just know is nonsense, and you're not going to go there. And that's what the 7 is, and that's really what the 7 reminds me of Wands. It's like, well, no, I'm not going there. I'm going to be here. You can be there, but I'm going to stay here. This is where I make my stance. This is where I stand in my power, and I'm not going to be influenced by all this other willful stuff that's going on. It's chaos. And then you have, you know, you're waiting, and there's also this element of waiting. Well, now here's the message coming in, right? Here's the information coming in to support this person in their effort, all lending itself toward awakening, and then the manifestation of something new. And not just the manifestation of something new, but the inner need within, that inner friction within. It's very similar to the rune Ingus, which is a sudden expansion of energy. It's literally a garden rune. It can be written as drawn as either as a diamond resembling a seed, or it can be drawn as a DNA, two X's on top, one on top of the other, like a DNA strand. So it's our genetic, it's the genetic need to survive, basically. The friction within to manifest or to survive. And with Albus's presence, what it's telling us is that there's some greater unified consciousness message here, that there's some greater purpose, that there's some higher level thinking that we could be engaging in. And that also is part of the yod, isn't it? The sextile part between Saturn and Neptune, basically we're talking about, this service to others approach. Perhaps the folks down below are all about themselves, furthering their own, a current phrase that's being used is self-dealing. Maybe these people are self-dealing, and you're standing in your power for the greater truth of things. But it's not in as aggressive a way as it could be. Because and given the elevation above them, you're talking spirit is informing this gentleman. He knows that he doesn't have to get truly hostile here. He can just stand his ground. Allow for the information to come and support what he believes. And then awaken and manifest something new. So that's interesting. Well, groovy. I think that's about it. I don't think we need to do any more. Let me just look one more thing here on my notes. Oh. Well, the only thing that I would say, Black Moon Lilith still in the 4th house. Still, you want to avoid self-defeating behavior, and that might be the one that might be the outlier in the yod, because if the moon in conjunct Saturn, you're reluctant to take, it was Neptune that was a tendency toward martyrdom. So that leg of it might, in other words, if the relationship between Saturn and Neptune isn't strong enough to support this, if Black Moon Lilith's, effect is a little bit, in other words, if you fall victim to it, then I could see where maybe you might not be able to manifest the true vision of the yod. So, again, stay out of the ego, take truly a service to self-focus. Don't focus on the little mistakes and the little issues. Rise above all of it, and remain in that higher self-focus. And I think that maybe you can manifest the energy of that yod today. So in a way that manifests awakening and then manifests a new way forward. So seriously, all of the energies are here with the cosmic builder energy, with the 20th card judgment, and with Nathis, that being a Norn rune in particular, holds extra weight today. So, and then Albus brings it all together, doesn't it? Groovy. So anyway, today's Tuesday, isn't it? Is today Tuesday? Yes, Tuesday. So it's a Mars energy day. So, again, I don't know. Try to find some balance. So we will see you tomorrow. It will be Wednesday. It won't no longer be a 22 energy. It'll be a day for change. So we'll see if anything changed after what we manifest today. So anyhow, we'll see you tomorrow. Thanks so much for coming by. Oh, do check out the blog. The weekly Rune and Moon is up. I forgot to say that yesterday. That went up on Saturday night for Sunday. And so that's all up. You can take a look at that. That has... what I do there is a little bit different. I do a daily or mostly daily correspondences and astro information post every day. It's separated out with current astrological information, but it's all geared toward work and magic, basically. So I'm not doing a whole lot of interpretation, just, little blurbs here and there, but the rest of it is just basically information that witches can then go to, or magicians can go to and look and say, okay, what kind of correspondences do I need to shore up whatever it is I'm going to do? So it's just a quick reference thing. Most of it's taken from Witch Notes, a little correspondences book that I wrote. That's my most recent book I wrote. So that's where that comes from. There's a link to it down below. Plus, I link to different stuff on Amazon that down in the correspondences section in particular, so different runes and different this and that. There's actually some, they actually have pendants for the Olympic spirits. There's a real, so I link to that. That's really cool. Sometimes I'll link to a goddess statue or something, or a god statue or something, or to the different color chime candles. So if you're out of something, or you don't have something, you could click on it and you could get it there if you wanted to do that. So there's that. I'm one of those, I have one of those affiliate things. So that's what that's all about. I just earn little advertising pennies off of it. So anyhow, on the sales that qualify. So anyhow, it just helps defray blog expenses is all that it does. Nothing more, trust me on that anyway. So there's that. And then what else? Oh, there's the, again, I talked about this yesterday. There's the tincture and toner post that's up there that I did for skin toner and a skin tincture. Kind of help replace collagen in your skin when you get to be my age and stuff like that. Anyway, that's up there. Also, the weekly Rune and Moon is up. Monday, at the beginning of each month, there's a monthly tarot and a monthly geomancy reading. So that happens. And then, periodically I do other things. I might rant a little bit about this and that I'm irritated about or something. But or I might, just talk about empath stuff or cannabis stuff or whatever. So check out the blog over there. It's called Stepping Aside. It's at imsteppingaside.com. So lots of things to do over there and to check out if you're interested in that. But I guess that's it. I can't think of any other housekeeping issues to take care of. So I guess I will see you tomorrow. Be good to yourself, be good to one another, and blessed be.